Okay, so now we're going to write our very own exclamation sentences, and we're going to start by using how. So we've started both of these sentences using how. Now I'm going to talk you through one exclamation sentence, and I'd like to describe how Florence Nightingale felt when she was on the boat. Now remember, the waves were very rough because the weather was very bad, wasn't it? So therefore I need an adjective to describe how Florence Nightingale probably felt. Well, if you've ever been on a boat when the water's rough, you start to feel a little bit seasick. So I'm going to use the adjective seasick. How seasick. Now, what do I need next? So I've got my how, I've got my adjective, I need my pronoun. Now I am going to be writing this letter as if I was Florence Nightingale. So I'm not going to use she, I'm going to use the pronoun I because I am talking about myself in the letter. How seasick I. So I've got my how, my adjective, my pronoun, and what's missing? Oh yes, my verb. Okay, now I'm describing how Florence Nightingale was probably feeling at the time. So I'm going to use the verb to feel, but I need it in the past tense because it's already happened. So therefore, how seasick I felt. Now, what am I missing? Yes, I'm missing my exclamation mark right at the end. So let's just check I've got every part of my exclamation sentence. Well, I've got the how, I've got the adjective seasick, I've got the pronoun I, I've got the verb felt, and I've got my exclamation mark at the end. Fantastic. Okay, now I want to create an exclamation sentence about the boat. What were the conditions on the boat like? How could we describe them? So could you pause the video and have a go at writing your very own exclamation sentence, starting with how to describe the boat? Okay, year two, how did you get on? Well, let's see what I wrote. Maybe you wrote something similar. So I started with how, and then I wanted an adjective to describe the boat. Well, I know that it was very uncomfortable, and uncomfortable is an adjective. So I've used uncomfortable as my adjective. And then next, I need a pronoun now. Remember, you can have a noun as your pronoun, can't you? You can have, like I said, the dog, the flower. Now, what am I talking about here? Well, I'm talking about the boat. So I'm going to use the boat as my next part. How uncomfortable the boat. And then finally, I need my verb. Now I need the verb to be in the past tense. Yes, it was. How uncomfortable the boat was, with an exclamation mark at the end. There we go. We've created two exclamation sentences, starting with how to describe her journey. So some exclamation sentences she may say to her family about her journey on the boat. Now, what about if we wanted to use what at the beginning of our exclamation sentences? Well, I'm going to show you how to create an exclamation sentence starting with what to describe the weather. Now, what was different between our exclamation sentence starting with how and our exclamation sentence starting with what? Yes, that's right. How had an adjective after it, but what has a noun phrase after it, which is made up of an adjective and a noun. So I said I wanted to describe the weather. So I'm going to use weather as my noun. And then what could I say about the weather? Remember, the sea was very rough. So the weather was pretty awful, wasn't it? So maybe I can write, what awful weather. There's my adjective awful and my noun weather. Then I need a pronoun. Now I can't use she or he or they or I because the weather isn't a person, is it? So therefore I need to use it as my pronoun. What awful weather it. So I've got my what, my noun phrase, my pronoun, and then finally I need my verb. What verb am I going to use? Well, I'm going to use the verb to be in the past tense. So in the present, what awful weather it is. In the past tense, what awful weather it was. And then not to forget my exclamation mark at the end. Now, I would like you now to have a go at creating an exclamation sentence beginning with what to describe the journey. Now remember, the journey took 2 weeks, didn't it? So what could we use as our noun phrase? Remember, journey will be our noun, but you just need an adjective for it. Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, year two, so let's see what I came up with and see if it's similar to what you had. So I know that the journey took 2 weeks. So therefore the journey was very long, wasn't it? So I'm going to say, what a long journey. Now again, like the weather for my pronoun, I can't say she or I or he or they because it's not a person. A journey is not a person. So therefore I need it again. Okay, what a long journey. It, and then I need the verb to be again. Can you remember what it is? In the past tense when we use it with it. Yes, we need was. And then we need our exclamation mark. So what awful weather it was. What a long journey it was. So there we go. We've created 2 more exclamation sentences starting with what that Florence Nightingale can use in her letter to her family. So now it's your task. So we've been describing the journey with our exclamation sentences, but this time I would like you to describe what she found at the hospital. What might she have said? What exclamation sentences might she have said to describe what she saw in the hospital? Well, you could talk about the soldiers, you could talk about the doctors, about the floor, about the amount of people. It was very crowded, so how crowded it was, about the clothes, or about the smell, because I'm sure it was very smelly in that room. So I'd like you to create 2 exclamation sentences starting with what and 2 exclamation sentences starting with how. Now, after you've done that, I would like you to do this plenary. So you need to write instructions for an exclamation sentence using how. So what are the different steps? And then instructions for an exclamation sentence using what. So again, what are the different steps? Because remember, you form an exclamation sentence starting with what differently to how you form an exclamation sentence starting with how. Okay, so have a lovely rest of your day, Year 2, and I'm looking forward to seeing the exclamation sentences that you create for what Florence Nightingale found when she arrived at the hospital in Scutari. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.